Good morning, Malta and Gozo, and welcome to another edition of Lovin Daily. I'm your host, Jonathan Chilia. Today I'm joined by my co-host, Tim Diacono. Obviously, it was a majorly hot weekend in Malta over this weekend. I hope you did hit the beaches or the pools. If you did, I hope you were socially distancing. We had some major stories happen. Let's just jump right into them. Malta's Prime Minister has said that Germany agrees with Malta's plan to get whitelisted by FATF. A St. Paul's Bay restaurant was forced to tell a table of diners to leave due to extreme rudeness and threats. A Daphne Caruana Galizia murder suspect, Jorgen Fennick, told the police that he did it for Keith. Malta gets a deluge of tourist requests after the UK puts us on their safe travel list. And a startup co-founded by a Maltese coder receives a staggering $1 billion valuation. Now definitely stay tuned to the end of today's episode. We've got a special guest in the house, George Muscat, a former PN candidate who's here to speak to us a little bit about why he recently withdrew his candidature. Tim, you want to take us away in the first story?
Yeah, so Robert Abela, the Prime Minister, said yesterday, he gave a little bit of an update on Malta's plan to get back on the FATF whitelist. Obviously, the country, as everyone knows by now, was grey-listed, unfortunately, last week. And he said he had a chat with the finance minister of Germany. Now, Germany is one of a few countries which reportedly pressured quite strongly for Malta to end up on the grey list. And he, without giving too many details away, he said that Germany agrees with Malta's plan to get whitelisted, to get out of the grey list, which would be good news because if Germany agrees and if the others agree, then Malta will be whitelisted. Obviously, it's shorn of details for now. It's the FATF is recommending, as we know, changes with regards to taxation issues. In fact, the Home Affairs Minister even referred to this yesterday, and he said that Malta needs to change its culture, which is quite a powerful statement. He said that Malta has a bit of a Mediterranean culture when it comes to taxes, and you know, with the FATF's decision means we need to start changing it. I hope that this doesn't mean, though, that the authorities are going to start clamping down on small businesses, on small-time self-employed people, just because they didn't pay some taxes and start treating regular people like criminals. That this is not what the FATF is after.
You know, I think either way, there will be some major changes coming for Malta over the next few months and years. And over the last few days, you know, the island has been taken up with reactions to the FATF grey listing. Opposition leader Bernard Grech himself has said, you know, the country must elect the Nationalist Party into government if it wants to emerge from this crisis. Bernard Grech said, quote, "There's no quick fix solution to this problem." However, you know, he thought it was unrealistic that the current government could get Malta out of this problem. At 11 o'clock today, Society Group Republica will be holding a press conference as well on this topic, so definitely stay tuned for that. Lovin Malta will be covering that at 11 a.m. today. Moving on to the next story, quite an interesting story, and there was a lot of interest in it as well over the weekend. A very popular St. Paul's Bay restaurant took to social media to explain why it had to eject a table of diners, the first time they ever had to do it in their history of being open. So the restaurant La Buona Trattoria del Nonna in St. Paul's Bay had to kick out a table of foreigners who apparently had tried to pay using government vouchers, but when the government vouchers did not work, they got aggressive. They started saying, you know, very rude things about the restaurant, about Maltese people, and about Malta in general. Apparently there were children nearby, there were families nearby as well. It was a heated and escalated scene. The police were even called in, so I can't even imagine what it's like to finally go out to the restaurant after all these months and years of, you know, staying inside with the pandemic, just to go out and see chaos like this, seeing a table get so rude and aggressive. Many people took to social media to, you know, praise the restaurant for how professional they were. Apparently, this restaurant's very, very calm. They're very friendly staff. So for them to, you know, kick a table out, it really must have escalated.
Oh yeah, I mean, what really struck me about this was a particular comment by one of the restaurant attendees who said, you know what, we say the customer is always right, they're not always right. If they're going to be really rude and even threatening apparently to their staff, you shouldn't stand for this. I mean, have some self-respect and even teach other restaurants a lesson. So no, restaurants should not have to put up with this kind of what they called extreme rudeness. Moving on to another story. So Interestingly, this happened a few weeks ago in court, but it wasn't reported at all in the Maltese media. However, Lovin Malta did pick up on it yesterday. Now, it concerns Jorgen Fenech, obviously the main suspect in the assassination of Daphne Caruana Galizia, and the statement that he gave police while under arrest. So in court, Superintendent Keith Arnaud said that when he was interrogating Jorgen Fenech, Fenech told him that he paid Melvin Toma €500,000 for the murder, and that he did it for Keith. Now, Keith would be a reference to Keith Schembri, the former Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, which would be quite it's quite a bold statement from Jorgen Fenech. Now, we know that he was trying to rope Keith into the murder for quite a while, but a statement like this, I did it for Keith. Unfortunately, Keith Schembri is not in a great state at the moment, so there is a chance that we will never really know the full truth. Unfortunately, I hope it's not the case, but I think a lot of people are concerned about this right now.
Yeah, no, I think what's really interesting here, aside from the Keith statement, is the $500,000 that was paid. So $500,000 was paid to Melvin Thelma, the alleged middleman in this whole case. Now, what's interesting is it had already been previously revealed that the three assassins in the actual murder had been paid $50,000 each, which only begs the question, what happened to the remaining $350,000? Were they also divvied up between the assassins? Did Melvin Thelma keep it all for himself? Is there another person involved? So we'll definitely be following court to see what happens next. Moving on to the fourth story, and this is a story that I think affects a lot of sectors of Malta. So obviously, the island was placed on the UK's green list, the so-called green list, the safe travel list, which means that British tourists will now be able to travel to Malta and enjoy the sun and fun that they can find on the island. As soon as the island was put on the UK's travel list, Maltese tourism operators, people who rent out accommodation, people working in the flight industry, they faced a deluge of requests from British families, British couples, British individuals looking to come to the island. One accommodation owner based in the high-end Santa Maria estate of Meleha told us that they were up till about 2 a.m. on the Thursday alone, dealing with just inquiry after inquiry, requests, people asking about, if they have any availabilities, what the prices are, people asking about what the procedure is as well. As British families, do they need to get a test as soon as they land? Do they have to show it from the UK? So it's very interesting to note that the UK, British people were very, very keen to come to the island. They were just waiting to be put on that safe travel list. What do you make of this? I mean, in the comment section under the article, a lot of people weren't very happy to see so many people coming to the island, especially as there's the Delta variant of COVID-19 out there.
No, I disagree with them. I think at the end of the day, the virus is with us and it's here to stay. And it's these people in the sector have been struggling for over a year and a half now. And I mean, they really, really do deserve a breath of fresh air. Obviously, Malta now wasn't only added to the UK's green list, it's also one of the few places in Europe that was added to the green list. If I'm not mistaken, it's just Malta and the Balearic Islands. So obviously Malta is already a popular destination for British travellers, but the fact that it's one of only 2 European destinations they can travel to, it's, from a competition point of view, it's amazing news for Malta. You don't have many options. It's one or the other. They're both islands. So hopefully, the tourism sector will be able to use this as a bit of a springboard into the future and hopefully we won't have to end up locking down again. And finally, quite an interesting story. A Maltese entrepreneur, Sergeant Philip Camilleri, he set up a company in the United States, a coding-related company. It's called Smart Assets. It connects consumers to financial services providers. And over the weekend, it was valued at $1 billion, which makes it what people in the industry would call a unicorn startup. So an amazing feat for this young man. He's not exactly been prominent as a prominent businessman, But it shows, that even though you're from a small country, you've got the talent, you've got not just the talent, but also the will and the passion, you can really get there. I mean, it's $1 billion, no joke.
No, this is a really great story, I think. I think it really goes to show how talented Maltese entrepreneurs can be. And like you said, this isn't some established name. This is a relatively young guy, just a coder. He's been working in various projects, but then he got involved in this smart asset, which is described as the web's go-to resource for financial advice. Basically, it's a website where you can go and get a bunch of feedback and advice for various financial decisions you want to make in your life. What was interesting is that a group in Malta, Silicon Valletta, it's called. It's basically a group full of Maltese entrepreneurs. They took to social media. They were very praiseworthy of this. Obviously, it's very exciting for one of your very own to start up a company and within a decade be valued at over $1 billion. That evaluation came after the company closed a recent Series D round of valuations. They had just received another 110 million in funding, which put them over the valuation. Really interesting times, and I can't wait to see the next Maltese company, get that valuation of over $1 billion or euros in the future, maybe. I think that brings us to the end of the first part of today's episode. We're going to cut to a quick clip right now. When we're back in the office, we'll have a really interesting interview. Stay tuned.
In Malta, we don't say.
Welcome back to Lovin Daily. With me now is George Muscat, an ex-candidate of the Nationalist Party who recently announced that he's going to be withdrawing his candidature. George, thank you for accepting this interview. L-għonet, għalfej ħassejt il-bżon li tirriżenja bħala kandidat tal-Partit Nazzjonalist, mhux biss bħala kandidat u anke bħala tesserat.
Mela, l-ewwel ħaġa bonġurilek u l-kun qed jismana, grazzi ħafna ta' din l-istedina għaliex kontu minn ta' qudiem intom illi propju indunajtu illi hemm bżonn li xi ħadd jiġi u jitkellem fuq l-affarijiet fuq il-weġat li bniedem jgħaddi minnhom. Sfortunatament fil-ħajja jkun hemm ħafna silenzju fejn dak li jkun jew jibża jitkellem jew inkella ma jkollux ma tingħatalux l-opportunità. Ħamur fuq il-mistoqsija tiegħek mill-ewwel, iva, jiena tip ta' bniedem. Naħsibha ħafna drabi, ġifieri tip ta' bniedem li ma niddeċidix mill-ewwel. U f'waħda mill-posts tiegħi, mill-comments tiegħek tibta aktar minn 1000 darba. Jiġifieri jiena meta bdejt nara l-affarijiet, l-opinjonijiet tiegħi, kont qiegħed ukoll nagħmel parti minn fera, minn cluster tal-edukazzjoni. Nagħmlu l-pjanijiet tagħna, niltaqgħu id-dar ċentrali, jew inkella online, nagħmlu ħanqattaw ħafna ħin, ħafna sigħat. U daw il-proposti jibqgħu fuq l-iskaffa jew inkella jkun hemm xi ħadd li jieħu vantaġġ rigba minn fuqhom, mill-kollegi stess ta' ġifieri, jitkellmu fuq dak li proponejt jiena u sħabi u ma ningħatawx iċ-ċans, jiġifieri da jkun hemm settur ieħor li m'għandux jaqsam xejn mal-edukazzjoni, jieħdu rigba politika minnu u jitkellmu huma għan-nom tagħna. Jiena meta nkun irid inwassal messaġġ Tim, nkun irid inwasslu b'saħħtu ħafna. Jiena irriżenjajt mhux bħala kandidat imma kif għattajjeb inti wkoll bħala tesserat. Inħoss illi il-partit għandu bżonn beżbiża, il-partit għandu bżonn xi ħadd min jgħidu isma' għaliex qed jitilquk in-nies ta' madwarek. U jiena kemm il-darba għattilhom isma' dawk il-kandidati li huma validi bħali li tgħidu li jiena validu wkoll. Fejn huma għaliex ma sejjaħtulhomx? U jiena għaliex kelli nasal sawn.
Bħalxiex kienu l-proposti tiegħek li bdejt tagħmel?
Mela, Mela, iva, dawn huma l-proposti dwar l-edukazzjoni taf li hemm il-partit għandu l-ferat il-clusterings tiegħu, diversi clusterings, u ovvjament jien kont naqa' taħt din il-fera. Issa, peress li jiena għallim ġo skola sekondarja, naturalment xtaqna nippjanaw daqsxejn kif sa nfasslu wkoll il-pjanijiet tagħna, l-proposti tagħna għal quddiem. U f'diversi proposti semmejt xi wħud minnhom, pereżempju waħda minnhom kienet li kull għalliem biex ma jkollux ukoll burnout u ma jibqax jgħallem omru kollu, jittingħatalu forsi bejn 25 to 30 years servizz bħalma fil-korp tal-pulizija u oħrajn, u mbagħad jista' jekk irid jew jerġa' jiġi reinstated jew inkella jieqaf hemmhekk. Semmejna pereżempju l-kondizzjonijiet tal-iskejjel, pereżempju ġieli tmur ġo skola laqqas siġġu ma jkollok mhux għall-iskola tiegħi qed ngħid, jiġifieri jiena komdu ħafna jgħid, però hemm ħafna skejjel li anke tarhom il-bini wkoll tbeżżak. Hemm ħafna minnhom pereżempju l-istudenti tagħna kienu qegħdin jagħmlu l-eżamijiet, kien hemm xi studenti li anke jibda jħosshom ħasħadin minħabba sħanat li hemm, jiġifieri arja kondizzjonata m'hemmx għadha kemm semmita wkoll MUT. Jiġifieri semmejt orrajt għax semmejt forsi s-siġġu ma jkunx daqshekk komdu, imma l-ambjent. Anke pereżempju aħna ngħidu bil-Malti għażeba li wkoll tagħmel differenza. Hemm skejjel daw li huma qed jinbnew jiġifieri u skejjel oħrajn li huma attrezzati ħafna. Ma jiena nemmen li għandu jkun hemm ambjent holistiku biex kemm l-istudent kif ukoll aħna bħala liema inkunu komdi. Dak kienu xi wħud mill-proposti.
U xi ħadd rikeb fuqhom.
Xi ħadd tkellem dwarhom li fl-opinjoni tiegħi ma kellux jagħmilha. Ma xtaqx nidħol daqshekk fid-dettall fuq biex ma nagħmilx. Kważi
seraq il-proposti tiegħek.
Tkellem dwarhom mingħajr aħna l-grupp tiegħi mhux lili biss tal-clustering ma tal-rigward l-edukazzjoni ma ġejniex laqqas informati u laqqas ġejna mistiedna.
U min kien dan il-persuna?
Ma xtaqx nidħol f'dettalji, intom naf illi Lovin Malta famuża ħafna wkoll għar-riċerka tagħkom, kien ma xtieqx nagħmel ħsara lil ħadd, jiena ma xtaqx kif taqbad tgħid, I don't want to burn bridges, ġifieri.
But you burned a bridge.
I burned a bridge in a way li peress li inti ġejt għatli biex niġi mistieden hawnhekk, xtaqt ukoll ngħid ċertu affarijiet, imma naturalment mhux se nidħol fid-dettall, ma nħossi li għandi nidħol jiena dak imbagħad hemm il-kap jaraw.
X'taħseb l-opinjoni tiegħek s'issa ta' Bernard Gregg bħala kap?
Ara, jiena jiddispjaċina ħafna ngħid illi għandna oppożizzjoni bla viżjoni. Oppożizzjoni fejn il-nies illum ma jridux li nitkellmu biss fuq in-negattività, maħniex ngħidu aħna li l-korruzzjoni hija tajba tim. Imma maħniex ngħixu ħajjitna insemmu kollox ħażin. Jiena pereżempju f'ħafna mill-posts tiegħi ġieli kont nippostja affarijiet pożittivi. Pereżempju riċentament tfajt post jiena u jekk Ministeri żball kienet fuq il-post li kienet l-għana tal-Prim Ministru Roberta Bela fuq daw il-ferries il-ġodda ta' Għawdex, il-fast ferries. U jiena speċi ta' awgurajt li Malta u Għawdex tkun xi ħaġa sabiħa ħanibbenefikaw. ċemplu li mill-partit stess għallu li biex inneħħieħ il-post. U jiena bniedem progressiv ħafna, jiena rrit li dak li Labour għamel tajjeb, jiena ngħidlu tajjeb. Dak li nazzjonalisti għamlu tajjeb jew ħażin, ngħid li hu ħażin. Jien ma jfissirx li għax ġej mill-kamp jew ex-kamp mill-Partit Nazzjonalista ngħid li kollox tajjeb jew kollox ħażin, ġifieri jiena wkoll kont inkun anzjuż. X'tip ta' post jew x'tip ta' comment santella, għallu li tifhem is-sitwazzjoni li inti tellajtu fuq il-post tal-Prim Ministru. Jiena sfortunatament l-iktar li weġġatni.
Comment kien jew
post. Jiena
ħassartu l-post.
Jiena ħassartu għaliex ċempilli s-Segretarju Ġenerali wkoll, kif ukoll bat li Alessandro Farrugia li jieħu ħsieb il-lista tal-kandidati u biex ma naqlax panik, imma ħafna minn nies indunaw u bdew iċemplu li qalu li George, x'fettillek għax inti m'għamil xejn ħażin. Jiena ħaġa li tweġġani Tim hija li kif appena tfajt ir-riżenja tiegħi, jiena maħbub minn kulħadd, kemm jiġifieri hemm ħbieb minn nazzjonalisti kif ukoll laburisti. li ħafna mid-deputati mill-kamp oppost tal-Labor batuli saħansitra anke l-Prim Ministru awgurali speċi għamel kuraġġ f'dan iż-żmien diffiċli tiegħek. U l-kap tiegħi ma jċempillix, ma jgħidlix isma' George, x'inhi l-problema, x'inhi d-diffikultà? Jiena kif tfajt ir-riżenja inkludejt mhux il-Prim Ministru lil Dr. Bernard Grech kif ukoll il-Francis Zamid Dimek. Francis ċempilli mill-ewwel u għalli nagħmlu meeting. Jiena ħankun onest miegħek, jiena fil-passat kont tlabt diversi meetings biex nistortjaw ċertu issues li jkun hemm min issues bħalisma din ma naqbilx, din naqbel, din u ma sarux, u mbagħad għatlu le, issa minix sa niġi għal dak il-meeting, jiddispjaċini, imma l-affarijiet se jibqgħu kif huma. Jiena deċidejt li nieħu din l-istand li ma nibqax affiljat mal-Partit Nazzjonalista.
Bernard Grech ma għallek xejn.
No, Bernard Grech ma għalli xejn, jiddispjaċik ħafna meta speċjalment ħarġet il-lista tal-kandidati minn ħireġ għall-elezzjoni ġenerali fuq Times of Malta, ismi ma kienx inkluż, u ma qalu li kien hemm żballu ħajranġaw tarġa' tiġi reprint, ma deriċ. F'ħafna midrabi jiena kont qed niġi mwarrab, laqas biss kont qed niġi mistieden għal xi press conferences, laqas pereżempju jekk il-kapsa jkun hemm isma' George, għada l-kapsa jkun hemm. Ma kontx qed niġi mistieden, li kont qed niġi mistieden xi ftit nemmulaw fuq radio u kważi nitkarrab jiena biex niġi mistieden. Forsi xi analiżi tal-gazzetta, ma l-bqija pereżempju bħal dibattitu fuq television, bħal analiżi tal-gazzetti fuq television stess. Qatt ma ġejt mistieden u jiena kont nara dejjem l-istess uċuħ u kont ngħidilhom il-partit bekk mhuwiex sa jmur tajjeb għax in-nies qed jgħiduli wkoll isma' int fejn int George, għaliex int qatt ma tidher, għaliex int qatt ma tinstema'. U l-iktar ħaġa li ddispjaċihom in-nies mhux għax tlaqt minn mal-Partit Nazzjonalista, għax tilfu bniedem validu li jiena xtaqt u nixtieq nagħmel il-ġid fejn min itini l-opportunità li nagħmel il-ġid.
Semmejt li l-partit, semmejt punt interessanti li l-partit għandu hemm nuqqas ta' viżjoni. X'għandha tkun din il-viżjoni?
Ara, mela l-viżjoni qiegħed ċar ħafna daqs il-kristall tim. In-nies qegħdin aħna ngħidu qed nismgħu qegħdin inħossu l-polz, però mhux veru qed inħossu il-polz. Jiena bdejt inħoss il-polz tan-nies għal dawn l-aħħar sin kemm ili nimmilita fil-Partit Nazzjonalista, inċemplilhom, nagħmel house visits, nawguralhom pereżempju kull jum it-tnejn sal ħadd min għandu l-birthday, ħaddik l-inizjattiva biex nawgurar isma' inti kollox sew, għandek bżonn xi ħaġa. Imma tmur u tara li l-partit ma jista' jagħmel xejn. Jew inkella isma' daw in-nies imweġġajn telqu mill-partit għax ħassewhom abbandonati, telqu mill-partit għax x'sa nagħmlu magħhom dan nies, jiġifieri anke kandidati oħrajn sħabi li telqu ma reġgħux sejħulhom. Jiena ma reġgħax sejjaħ li Bernard qal li isma' poġġu fuq mejda, x'ġara għaliex tfajt ir-riżenja tiegħek. Iċempillek kulħadd, iċemplulek mill-kamp oppost. Il-kap tiegħek immaġina missier tal-familja. Ikellmek kulħadd u missierek ma jkellmekx. Ħassejta ħafna dik iva, ħassejta.
Fair enough. Taħseb li PN għandu ċans jirbaħ l-elezzjoni ġenerali u għalfejn taħseb li skont is-surveys il-Partit Laburista huwa iktar popolari, ħafna popolari iktar minkejja il-problemi kollha li jiffaċċja.
Ara, għandi d-dubju tiegħi. Jekk il-Partit Nazzjonalista jitlax fil-elezzjoni ġenerali li jmiss, ħanajdlek għaliex. Jekk inti ma jkollokx pjan ta' strateġija, pjan strateġiku, kif sa tfassal il-politika tiegħek, jiena nut li tim qegħdin jiena wint hawnhekk noqgħod niġġieled miegħek min sa jidher fuq television u min sa jidher fuq radio. Jiena ġlied tiegħi miegħek irid ikun kif sa nara Malta aħjar. U l-Partit Laburista qed jagħmilha, u qed jagħmilha tajjeb ħafna. Għaliex baqa' viċin in-nies, ra x'inhuma l-weġġat tan-nies, qed ngħidlek illi kollox tajjeb tim. U le, kulħadd uman. Imma meta inti tibqa' viċin in-nies, mhux meta tkun wasal tal-leġiżlazzjoni, mhux meta tkun waslet elezzjoni ġenerali, nċemplu n-nies, isma' rajt għandek bżonn xi ħaġa, imma s-sena kollha. Il-kuntatt irid ikun is-sena kollha. Jiena nutli u minuta Itmuru tara per eżempju il-biznis ta' dak kif inhu sejjer u ħafna media exposure u xeba kandidati jduru miegħek għasjafu fejn se jagħtu rashom. Jiena l-importanti li toqgħod bil-qiegħda isma'. Iktar mill noqogħdu nduru neħdu ritratti isma'. Ejja naraw x'hemm bżonn isir, imma x'hemm bżonn isir. Għandek in-nies qed jgħidulek x'hemm bżonn, għaliex m'intix tisma'.
U dan mhux qed isir fil-pjan.
Le, jiena mhux qed narah li qed isir, u issa aktar minn qatt qabel.
Iktar minn qabel.
Iġifieri
Sar qar.
jiena għalija għandu jkun hemm viżjoni iktar ċara minn taħt dan il-kap.
Fuq level, għax inti qed semmi affarijiet one-on-one, ġifri affarijiet personali. Jew ġifri hekk għandu jkun jew ukoll viżjoni nazzjonali għall-pajjiż.
Viżjoni nazzjonali tim. Jiena m'għandi xejn personali kontra Bernard, laqqas xejn, imma il-viżjoni mhux il-viżjoni nazzjonali tkun anki pereżempju jiena waħda mill-idejat li s-suġġerejtilhom meta kont qiegħed hemm ġeta misma'. Mela aħna nsemmu l-ex Prim Ministru George Muscat, għamel it-tajjeb u għamel il-ħażin ukoll. Ibni fuq it-tajjeb li jagħmel. Ibni fuq it-tajjeb li qed jagħmel il-Labour bħalissa. Semmihom, in-nies semmihomlhom, għidulhom isma', toqgħodx tibża' u għajt inti x'beħsiebek tagħmel, ma jekk inti ħatoqgħod tikkritika il-ħin kollu, jiena pereżempju personali bħala George, jiena bniedem negattiv, miegħi idejjani, jekk inti ħatoqgħod tgħidli George dik impossibbli, dik ma nistgħux nagħmluha u inti dejjem l-istess, jiena ddejjaqni ħafna. Jiena rrid inħossni komdu kif qed inħossni issa miegħek, anke meta tħall f'dal ambjent hawn ġew, rrid inħossni li jiena nkun jiena bniedem validu ħafna tim. U nemmen illi kelli ħafna idejat u naħseb l-idejat li kelli jgħat fil-kunsill lokali xorta waħda, x'issa ġejt bħala kunsillier indipendenti, kien hemm inqalli għaliex ma tlaqx ukoll minn kunsillier ma nitlaqx, il għaliex in-nies eleġġewni. In-nies tellem.
mal-Partit Laburista.
Ħanajdlek, ma rridx nieħu deċiżjonijiet maġla, jiena naħseb għadu kmieni wisq biex intik dik ir-risposta jekk imurx mal-Partit Laburista jew le. Jiena però nħossni komdu ma' kulħadd, Tim. Jiena naħdem ma' kulħadd, jiena ma taffettwanix il-kulur, jiena l-importanti li fejn inkun naħdem għal Malta aħjar.
Tajjeb, u l-aħħar mistoqsija. X'parir għandek lil Bernard Grek sabiex sabiex jirbaħ il-fiduċja tal-poplu?
Jiena naħseb il-Bernard apparti li awgurajtlu wkoll fitra ta' riżenja tiegħi kull suċċess, Tim. Nixtiequ li jiltaqa' ma' aktar stakeholders, isibu bniedem ukoll strateġist li jagħmel strateġija politika għax fil-Partit Nazzjonalista m'hemmx. Jara minn huma dawk in-nies li verament ma jixtiequx nies oħra minn barra, jaħdem fuqhom, in-nies qed iwasslu messaġġ ċar, qed jgħidu isma' dawk in-nies so and so, ma jridux jarawhom. Jiena mhux qed ngħidlek, isma' mhux faċli għax jiena mhux ħaniġew tgħidli George itlaq il-barra, irid ikun hemm raġuni, jiġifieri di tifhimha wkoll. Imma n-nies qed iwasslu messaġġ ċar. Jiena naħseb illi jrid ikun hemm qbil ma' kull stakeholder anke mal-unions ta' teachers pereżempju li dana mhix qed narah isir li isma' the way forward verament x'inhu għal pajjiżna. U naħseb li m'hemmhekk meta inti tibda tirbaħ il-fiduċja tan-nies, imma il-fiduċja tirbaħha billi inti tkun kredibbli, billi inti jkollok viżjoni konkreta. Jiena jekk għandi ħolma ma nistax tibqa' ħolma rid insarrafa.
George Muscat, thank you very much.
Grazzi.
Thank you very much for sticking with us on Lovin Daily. This interview will be uploaded later on throughout the day. Make sure you follow lovinmalta.com for all the latest updates and have a day full of lovin'.